Good morning, my name is Ola Tamanova, and I want to thank everybody who joins us in Ukraine Media Center current forum. I greet everybody who joins us online and in this studio. It's been 9 years of the war, and today's day 392 of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor of our homeland, and I traditionally want to thank the representatives of all the mass media who tell the world the truth about our heroic resistance. Now I want to introduce our today's speaker. I'm very happy to introduce her. It's Anka Feldhusen, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Federal Republic of Germany of Ukraine. Good morning, and I would like to start our conversation with gratitude on behalf of all the Ukrainians, to the government of Germany, to thank you for the Leopards, to the German people. This is a very important support for us. We appreciate it a lot. So, Miss Anka, in continuation of our subject of support of Ukraine by Germany, let's talk about this. Tanks, other material which is coming our way. What are the plans and what's on? Thank you for this invitation. I'm happy to be here with you, Germany. For 1 year, keep sending a lot of weapons to Ukraine, and we will continue doing this until the very end of war. We stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. Now we're talking about the tanks. As I've returned to Ukraine recently, I've seen a couple of teams of Ukrainian soldiers who went to Germany to train there to handle those tanks. And to me, it's very important not only the fact that we hand over the weapons to Ukraine, but also that we train the Ukrainian military so they come back and they are masterful with using the German tanks so they can use it in efficient manner against the aggressor. The weapons that Ukraine needs on daily basis, we revise what is necessary for Ukraine, and we will react, I hope, timely and promptly. I hope. Well, we hope so too. As to the energy sector, let's talk about this, about the energy sector of economy and how the German business coped with the challenges that they were faced. We've all heard the Russians' narratives that were launched in Germany too, that were saying that Germany and other countries of European Union would not make it through this winter. So how did it go? Well, just like Ukraine and all the Ukrainians whom I really admire, we did make it through this winter. The Europe made it through this winter. German always had a goal of switching to the alternative power sources, and Russian aggression to some extent expedited the achievement of this goal. And we really still use coal to a little bit more extent than we would like to, but we make emphasis on the renewable power sources, the wind, the solar energy, solar panels, the hydrogen too. And we started talking again with Ukraine too, where Ukraine could be our partner. We started this conversation before the war, and we want to focus on this topic. Ukraine can become a big exporter of such energy, and we want to find the projects where we can start cooperating now already. There is a vivid discussion existing in Germany, and it's not easy. But I see that our coalition really wants to achieve our goals, and it will help and counter the changes in climate way faster than we were thinking back 2 years ago. Well, talking about German business, it's no secret to anybody that Russian business was integrated into Germany. The connections were quite strong. So to what extent the sanctions against Russia influenced the German business? did it adapt to the new conditions? The German business always adapts to new conditions. We work mostly for export, and our companies are used to it. And I think for Russia it was always somewhat, well, I really don't think that a large part of our economy depends on Russia. Well, it was true in terms of gas, but the rest was the minor fraction of our GDP, in fact. There are different walls, so to say, but I think that more than half German companies which were active in Russia, they've already withdrawn from the Russian market. There are those who cannot really withdraw because Russia set very complicated conditions for withdrawal, but there are spheres which are not covered by the sanctions, so we keep discussing it with those companies. We try to find some solutions so that Germany doesn't support Russian economy anymore and doesn't support it in a way that our German companies pay taxes there. Yes, that's true, but many companies have already withdrawn. So getting back to such strategic view with the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I think that with all the European countries have understood that the security rules were violated, the security configuration stopped working. So what's your vision of this post-war security configuration, of the security component for the European countries? What should it look like, and what were the lessons already learned from that? Well, the goal should be to deter Russia. Russia should not be capable of attacking either Ukraine or other neighboring country again. This is our goal. How to achieve it? The supply of weapons is one of the components of such process, and we continue doing that. However, in my opinion, for a person who lives here in Ukraine, in the border with Russia, there should be a very, very efficient and strong wall in order to prevent Russia from attacking Ukraine again. Well, I cannot help but asking about the sentiment in Germany, among the German society. What is their sentiment? Do you feel that the support for Ukraine grows, or is there a phenomena that someone calls the phenomena of exhaustion, of tiredness? Well, if you look at the German press, there is a very strong focus on Ukraine. Every day there are really very diverse and very interesting articles about Ukraine, about different aspects of life in Ukraine, both here in Ukraine and in Germany. We welcomed about 1 million Ukrainians in Germany, and it really helped Germans understand what Ukraine is. Those Ukrainians who currently reside in Ukraine, those children who go to German schools, it's very good, because this is how the Germans directly and in a very authentic way are being explained how why is Ukraine fighting, what Ukraine is fighting for. It seems to me that there are always other different subjects. There was an earthquake in Turkey, there was winter, that's normal for both Ukrainian and world press, but generally I see that there is still very strong interest towards Ukraine in Germany. When I talk about it to my neighbors during my business trips, I think that Ukraine still enjoys very extensive and active support, and we will keep doing it further on. Well, you mentioned 1 million of Ukrainians who were welcomed by Germany. How are they doing over there, and to what extent this support for them continues? for more than a year. We understand that it's quite an extensive period, but we're happy to have Germany receive our people with hospitality there. I think that this summer will be a very important moment, because children who spent more than 1 year in Germany in German schools, if they will continue being school children in Germany, the parents will feel it quite difficult to switch the system back to Ukrainian, because there is a difference between Ukrainian and German education systems. But I keep hearing from many that they want to come back to Ukraine with their kids, because your air defense works quite efficiently, specifically in big cities, specifically in Kyiv. All the schools, almost all the schools got adapted, and we helped building the shelters in the schools too, those small projects. That will be an individual resolution. A part of Ukrainians will stay in Germany for sure, and it's good that it will be a part of the connection between us. But those who come back in summer, I hope that there will be a generation, the whole generation of Ukrainian children and mothers who already speak German language and can come back with other competences, with other capabilities in the job market and in the schools too. Thank you, dear colleagues. If we have any questions on the floor, please go ahead. Please introduce yourself. Ivan Kosakin, Ukrinform. Good morning, Miss Feldhusen. The German tanks are coming, but there are still issues. For example, last week the Minister of Defense of Poland said that there is some information in the mass media that the manufacturing of the spare parts for the tanks were shut down before. And what are the capabilities of Germany and the allies in terms of repairing the tanks? And if it comes to the repair, are Poland, Slovakia ready to repair them, or should they go all the way to Germany? That will take additional time. Thank you. Thank you for your question. We always insist that not only tanks but training and the spare parts, they come together with our weapons. And here is the same story with the tanks. The process of maintenance of Panzerhaubitze in Slovakia, it was going on for a long time, but yesterday a document was finally signed that now Panzerhaubitze are coming to Slovakia, so not so far. When I attended Munich Security Conference, I had meeting with many companies, German defense companies, and they are all ready to expedite and expand their manufacturing capacities. It's not an easy process, but they are all ready, and you've read that either yesterday or the day before the European Union decided to order just a lot of ammunition, and it helps our companies too in terms of their long-term planning, like employing the specialists, building new factories. The process is already underway, and I'm very optimistic that after such a period when everything seemed very slow to us, now German economy can react in a way that we expect the German economy to react. We have more questions. Vitaly Zalewski, Channel 5. What's Germany's assessment of the order issued in relation of Putin, and if he shows up in this territory, I mean in German territory, what will be the reaction of Germany? If Putin shows up in German territory, he will be arrested for sure. That was confirmed yesterday by the Minister of Justice of Germany. We are a part of Roman Statute. It's not only us, but more than 120 countries. So Putin will have trouble going on duty trips to any of such countries. So I think that this arrest order is very timely, and the discussion is being support about the liability of Russia for the crime of aggression, for all the war crimes they committed, and we work on it with our Ukrainian partners. There are also German prosecutors in the Hague too. Maria Bashko, Ukr Express. I have a couple of questions. Recently, the Americans stated that the first battery of Patriots will show up in Ukraine shortly. So when will the Germans send theirs? About the nuclear power sector of Russia? What's the Germans' take on it, and what's the expectations of NATO summit? Because back in 2008 Germany became that country, but what can Ukraine expect from this NATO summit this year? Well, first question, Patriots. Yes, Patriots. We already made the statement about handing over of Patriot from Germany to Ukraine. I don't know how long it would take, but that's not going to take long. Our second air defense system, IRIS-T, is coming too. It's very important for the defense of Ukrainian population, to reinforce the Ukrainian air defense. Well, as to NATO, I was reading, I hope it's so. I hope that your president is invited to the summit. That's good news, because I think that it's very important for him to talk directly to our leaders. Having a country where the war is going on to join the alliance, it would be very difficult, but the discussion is very active and it's underway, and Secretary General of NATO should not be underestimated. He is very clear in his statements, and in my opinion he really wants to support Ukraine, and he keeps talking to the members on this basis, so to say. I cannot forecast any result of that, but this war, it really changed a lot. It turned the German position 180 degrees, so let's see. And about the sanctions, about the nuclear sector, well, you know that Germany has withdrawn from the nuclear power sector, so this subject is not something. We don't require any imports from Russia. Our position in discussion about the sanctions is that we want to achieve some compromise. So European Union is built on compromise, and Germany was always thinking that it's very important to achieve such compromise. We talk to other countries, and it would be very clear signal. I know that Ukrainians and Ukrainian government are waiting for such signal. I live here and I know what may happen. I know what's going on with Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. We all want to send this clear signal to Russia that it's impossible, and China is really on the same page with us here. They express themselves very clearly against nuclear escalation, and that's good. Ms. Anka, continuing the topic of developments in the international arena, I cannot help but asking about your vision of the events that are being discussed in Ukraine very vividly lately. The latest visit of the Chinese chairman to Russia, the activization of China in international arena that proceeded from this peace plan to the visit of the Chinese chairman. What's Germany's opinion on that? Well, in our opinion, this peace plan is not really the peace plan. The peace plan is the resolution that was supported during United Nations General Assembly, which was supported by 141 countries during voting there. So we share some of the items, some of the articles of the Chinese peace plans. As I mentioned, we are happy that China expressed their opinion on the nuclear escalation, because Russia keeps threatening with it, but also we keep reading in this document that China stands for territorial integrity of the countries, but they don't express it clearly that Ukraine has that right too. What we expect from China is that they call this conflict not a conflict but a war, and that they, together with us, want Russian forces to withdraw from Ukraine. This is the principle of territorial integrity. And yet another principle, which is stipulated in the United Nations Charter, is the prohibition for violation. If China stands for those principles, they should say that what Russia does here is violence. Well, I want to thank you for this conversation, for joining our broadcast. Thank you for your systemic support of our country, of our people. Dear colleagues, I'm reminding you, joining us was Anka Feldhusen, the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of Federal Republic of Germany on Ukraine. In Ukraine, our next briefing is at 12 o'clock. Bear with us. Work together for our victory, and glory to Ukraine.